All right, let's go to Canada and one of our good friends up in Canada, Ezra Levant. Hello, Ezra. How are you?
Hi, it's great to be on the show. You know, I love America and I love Canada too, and I don't think I don't think I have to choose. I also love Trump, by the way, and so it's been a bumpy few weeks because Trump said, "Hey, Canada, fix your border problem, or we're going to slap you with tariffs."
Yeah.
And when you think of open borders, you think the Mexican border, right? And it's true, the vast majority numerically of the smuggling of people and drugs is from the Mexican side. But Canada's not perfect. It's getting worse. There's actually more would-be terrorists that are nabbed on the northern border than the Mexico border. And
a lot of Chinese as well.
Yeah, exactly. And the cartels are active in Canada, including not just the Mexican cartels, but, you know, there's big meth labs being found in Canada every week. Here's the thing. If you look at the announcement that Trump made, this was back, I think, in November. He said, look, by the time I'm inaugurated on Jan 20, I want you, Mexico, and you, Canada, to basically do the preparatory work to seal the borders. Start working on it now. Or else I'll slap you with a tariff. So I think a grown-up would say, okay, he wants us to seal the borders. We should probably do that in our own interest anyways. And he's got an or else in there that maybe stings a bit, but let's just do the work because it's in our interest too. Trouble is, Trudeau said, no, I'm not going to seal the border. I'm not going to crack down on illegal migrants and illegal drugs, even though that's something we should do. I'm going to focus on the or else, and I'm going to get into sort of a staring contest with an ally 10 times bigger than us.
Right.
And I've watched Trump's announcement. He wants the border fixed. The tariff is the or else. But here's the thing, and I don't know if Trump really thought about this because he's dealing with bigger fish. Like he's dealing with Ukraine, he's dealing with Gaza, and he's dealing with the economy and the fires in L.A. and getting his nominees through the Senate. So he's dealing with huge things. I don't think he's following the minutia of Canadian politics because let me tell you one thing I think Trump didn't count on. I mean, Trump's a master negotiator. And the thing about a negotiation is the other guy, you know, you've got to be willing to walk away, and you've got to make it so the other guy sort of doesn't want to walk away because his alternative is worse. But here's the thing about Trudeau. I don't know if you remember this, Glenn, but in January, Justin Trudeau announced he was going to resign.
Yes.
And that's going to take effect on March 9th. That's like 3 weeks from now. So Trudeau doesn't have the interest of getting a deal. He wants his final few weeks as prime minister to be, you know, an epic superhero coming to save Canada. He wants to be Captain Canada fighting against the big bad Trump. He doesn't actually want a deal, Glenn, because that's boring and that looks like he's taking orders from Trump. If he fights Trump, if he says, no, I don't want to spend a few billion on border security, I want to get in $100 billion trade war. See, Trump's not used to negotiating with a guy who actually wants to hurt himself. But why would Trudeau want that? Two reasons. Number one, to change the narrative. He's the Captain Canada saving our country from the big bad Trump, and we've got a lot of Trump derangement syndrome over here. But number two, Trudeau has wrecked our economy through taxes and debt and inflation and cost of living. So if Trump actually does bring in punitive tariffs, Trudeau can say, this is on Trump. It's not me. I didn't wreck the economy. Trump did. So the thing is, Trump is dealing with a guy who's acting in bad faith. Justin Trudeau wants a trade war. He wants our countries to fight.
So let me ask you this. I've been watching the reaction of some Canadians, and they're like, we're not going to become the 51st state. Do you guys understand trolling? Donald Trump, he's calling Trudeau the governor of the 51st state to minimalize him, as a mock of Trudeau. We're not thinking about buying you. We're not offering to buy you, and we're certainly not sending troops up there to take you. Do the Canadians just not understand that?
I think it's a combination because here's the thing. For the last 10 years, Trudeau has tried to denature Canada. Our founding prime minister is named John A. Macdonald, Sir John A. Macdonald, our version of George Washington. He's on our $10 bill. There's statues of him everywhere. Trudeau stripped him off the $10 bill. Trudeau presided over his statues being knocked down. Trudeau has told us that we are a country that committed genocide against Indian people. Trudeau calls us sexist, racist. He says, and he told the New York Times, we have no core values. We're basically a hotel. So he changed our national anthem. Who asked him to do that? Like, he's doing all these things. He went on.
Wait. He changed your national anthem from "O Canada" to what?
It's still "O Canada," but he changed the words. And like, who asked him to do that? He went on Anderson Cooper's show, and Anderson Cooper said, well, tell me what's a Canadian. Okay, that's a question you'd expect a prime minister to answer. He said, well, we're not Americans. That's not an identity. That's sort of an attitude. And so here's a guy who for 10 years has derided what it means to be Canadian. And he's given away citizenship to millions. So I think Trump, in his uncanny way, detected within Trudeau a bit of an inferiority complex, a bit of a weakness. And so that 51st state thing, governor thing, it actually stings because Trudeau has spent 10 years destroying our national identity. And Trump must have grokked that somehow, because every time Trump says that, it actually hurts because we have spent 10 years destroying what's made us Canadian. And Trump figured it out.
So, well, he's very good. He's very good at knowing where people's weaknesses are. I think that's one of his real skills in negotiating. He knows what the other side is thinking and what they're afraid of. Let me ask you this: is this going to turn into something?
Well, there was some booing. There's a hockey game between our two countries.
We're very well aware of it.
Yeah, and the booing, I think some people are sort of startled because the idea of fighting with America is unthinkable. Like, you almost can't tell a difference between a Canadian and American other than how we pronounce a few words, like a boot, the hoose.
Right. How long you'll wait for health care. Yeah, there's just a few things.
There are some differences, of course, but I can't think of two countries that are more similar.
Correct.
So the idea that we're in some battle with America, it's confusing to Canadians. But here's the thing, and let me just say a quick thing about the 51st state. You know how California is this huge electoral college that always goes Democrat every time? Let me say this to my brothers in the United States. You do not want another 41 million people who will vote Democrat every time for
we've made that point. We've made that point.
I mean, I myself would be a Trump supporter in a heartbeat, and maybe the province of Alberta, where I'm from, would.
Right.
And by the way, I know you have some challenges with Spanish bilingualism. A quarter of our country is French.
Oh, we know.
So, I mean, get ready for French to be spoken in your Congress. I'm just saying, there's probably a few details you didn't think about. But let me tell you what actually matters. I don't know if you know, but our free trade agreement that Trump renegotiated with Canada, it already gives you everything you want. We have 170 billion, with a B, barrels of oil in our oil sands, and you have access to it. You have preferential access to it. And so when Trump talks about slapping that with a tariff, my phrase is, how's that America first? You're the customer. You need that oil to displace the conflict oil you're buying from OPEC.
Yeah.
So how about, instead of slapping oil with a tariff, since that's just going to your refineries, we're the number one source of American oil other than America. You make about half of your own oil in Texas and other places, but the other half, we're your number one source. Then comes Mexico, then Saudi Arabia. How about replace that OPEC oil with more Canadian oil? And I know Donald Trump's a deal maker, art of the deal. Well, how about do a 50-year deal with Canada? You could buy every one of those 170 barrels of oil, 170 billion, and that would last you 50 years. You would be able to displace every single foreign barrel of crude. $13 trillion deal. That's a bigger deal than Greenland. You have access to that oil. It's yours. But most of the companies operating there are American-owned. Even the Canadian companies, they're all listed on your American stock exchanges. You own the companies that are making the money. It's like it's American all the way down.
Right.
And you don't want China to get access to that oil. China's poking around Canada's oil sands. What does China want? China wants you to push Canada away. Don't do it. And I think that Trump is shooting at Trudeau but hitting us. Don't do that. I have a creative way to get back at Trudeau, but don't do it by attacking Canada.
What's your creative way?
Well, I'll tell you. I mentioned before that Justin Trudeau said Canada has committed a genocide against our native peoples. But he says that in the present tense. He says, we are committing a genocide. Really? That sounds like a crime against humanity. What if Trump were to issue an executive order saying, taking notice of Justin Trudeau's confession that he is presiding over a genocide, we hereby put sanctions on Justin Trudeau and his cabinet. They may not enter the United States. They may not fly over our country. They may not do that. So just like Trump is doing with that international criminal court that wanted to arrest Netanyahu, if you smack Justin Trudeau around, he loves going to New York. He goes down to New York and parties, and he sort of does, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Trudeau loves going to America. If you took that away from him, Trudeau would be floored. Go after Trudeau. You want to punish Trudeau? Me too. I got some ideas. But don't treat it like Canadians. Get all the oil you want. Let's be good friends. And by the way, you do a $13 trillion deal to buy all our oil for 50 years. Now we got some money to build up our armed forces and be your best buddies again, like we were on D-Day, like we were in Afghanistan.